Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call. All members are present. We have the agenda in front of us. Is there any changes or to the agenda?
I'd like to remove item 7E, which was the Jacob Brower Trail.
Okay. We will be removing 7E, supporting the Jacob Brower Trail. Is there any other changes? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda with that change?
So moved.
A motion by Dave.
Second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes of the June 3rd, 2015 regular meeting. Are there any changes, questions, corrections? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 3rd, 2015 as presented?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion by Diane.
Second.
Second by Dave. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Now is our public open forum. This is where we open it up to the public if they want to speak on any concerns they have to the council, other than what we do have a public hearing later tonight. That would be separate. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Third and final time, is there anyone that would like to speak to the council? Seeing none, our public open forum is now closed. Reports and presentations. I guess we move. He's not here yet. Okay, we will move on to police department.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Activity report for May 2015. Some of the numbers we had for May. We had 10 alarm calls. We did 1 canine assist. We had 31 assist for other agencies. We had one controlled substance meth arrest, first degree, and 1 5th degree. We had 11 people driving without valid license. We had 13 arrests for a small amount of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. We had 2 felony warrant arrests. We had 4 intoxicated people calls, 12 juvenile problem calls, 13 medicals, 12 vehicle accidents, 7 thefts. We had 4 verbal disputes. We gave 274 verbal warnings, and we did 10 welfare checks. So we had 323 calls, we had 274 verbal warnings for a total of 579 activity. Comparing that to 2014, we're down calls by 65, down for warnings 67, and down total of 132. And compared to April, very similar, up 2 calls, and we're down 35 warnings and down total activity of 33. We also did some TZD, I think in May. I didn't have the hours with me, but it wasn't too much. I think 10 hours maybe or something like that. So starting to get busier a little bit. Summertime now, so.
True.
Yeah.
Anyone have any questions for Brian?
I do. Brian, today you had a lot of the police cars out there by the intersections for controlled crosswalks.
Yes, we did. We were doing a controlled pedestrian crosswalk at 5th and Main. Our department's been receiving a lot of complaints about vehicles not stopping for people at the crosswalk. So we decided to get out there, and we didn't write tickets, but we gave a lot of verbal, stopped a lot of people and gave them a little education about the crosswalks to see if we can curve that, help that situation out a little bit. So yeah, for about an hour and a half, we worked it pretty hard, so.
Great job.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of compliments on it, so I think people were looking for it to happen, so thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Brian.
Yep, thank you.
Moving on to 5C, employee recognition, 30 years of service.
Okay, the city, something we started several years ago was a recognition program. Kind of hard to attain. It's a 30 years of service program, so not everybody is able to make that. We do have an employee in the Public Works Department now that will have been employed by the city for 30 years on June 24th. That person is Paul Froseth, or most people call him Frosty. We did have a presentation for him tonight, but then he was unable to make it to the meeting, so we'll have to give that to him later. But I definitely wanted to recognize Paul for his 30 years of service to the city of Sauk Center. So.
And I think on behalf of the city, we can thank Paul for his service also. So, all right. Our other person isn't here yet, so we might as well move on.
We'll catch him when he gets here.
Okay. With that, we'll be moving on to our public hearing that we have tonight. I will recess the regular meeting. We will open the public hearing. We have a public hearing before us this evening regarding the vacation of road right-of-way 10th Street South. It is our intention that everyone has the opportunity to be heard. If you wish to speak, please sign in on the sign-up sheet at the back of the room. The procedure is as follows. Presentation by staff, followed by questions of staff. Public input will then be taken. Raise your hand. When recognized by the mayor, approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. State your comments and position. No one will be allowed to speak a second time until everyone has had a chance to be heard. First, we will hear questions for clarification. Secondly, we will ask the public who is in favor of the proposal. And third, public speaking against the proposal. After everyone who wishes to speak has had the opportunity to be heard, the hearing will be closed. After closure of the public hearing, the council will deliberate and take action as appropriate. Members of the audience do not participate in the council's discussion unless a majority of the council concedes to hear additional information or questions. The hearing is now in session. Vicki?
Okay. At the City Council meeting on May 20th, the City Council accepted a petition and set a public hearing to consider the vacation of some road right-of-way at the west end of 10th Street South. So that would be the part of 10th Street that is west of Beltline Road. The request is to vacate the last 200 feet of the right-of-way where it abuts farmland at the city limit at Sauk Center Township. The right-of-way then turns south along the city limit boundary on the township side, and this continuous right-of-way provides for public access to the land, plus to the leaseholder of the billboards along the freeway. The drive to the billboard area is not physically located within the public right-of-way, but it does cut the corner across private property as shown on the survey. So where the right-of-way exists on that survey you have is where it's highlighted in orange. It came in from the east to west, and then it jogs north around that building. And the reason for that jog north, you can see on the survey it used to go straight through, but that building was there. So we jogged it up around the north side of it, and that is how the dedicated, where the official right-of-way is. However, over years of driving down to the billboards, they have cut the corner where you can see the road is traveled. So we've got the road is traveled, and then we've got the official street easement, and then in the green hash mark is kind of the vacation request, that they're requesting that we vacate that or something similar to that. So the owner of the property on which the right-of-way exists on the north side is requesting that the city vacate that easement. Other landowners have all signed on to it. So the landowner where the shed is, the landowner abutting the end of it, they've all signed on to that easement vacation. And also the billboard owner signed it as long as he would continue to have access. I did talk to the township, and they are aware of it, and they said they're not opposed to it because if that property ever develops, it would be after it's annexed to the city in the future, so they didn't really feel that it impacted them. So when the right-of-way was established, it was noted there would be potential for the farmland to develop and allow for looped development as far as road access, municipal utilities were concerned. But the owner of the farmland also signed the petition. You will see on the next page, there's a city view, and it kind of has the yellow lines that shows some potential loops of where municipal utilities could be looped or right-of-way could be looped, and that was something that was talked about when this was established, and that's why I have that in there. The petitioner has stated that as he requested the vacation to allow for the construction of a home on the property. He does own 3 acres there. It's a kind of a triangle piece. This is the southern boundary and the westernly boundary of it, and then the other boundary is Beltline Road. So there's a triangle in there that he owns that he would like to build a home on in the future. But he is requesting this street easement vacation because that is kind of the property that's the higher property that's the more desirable, I believe, to build a house on. But he'll have the opportunity to address you for that. Do you have any questions of me right now, or otherwise we can let Mr. Miller speak?
Questions?
I'm just wondering about the sign retailer, so to speak, will have access to this?
Right now, he crosses that property. He said that he wouldn't be opposed to it as long as he continued to have access, but that would be agreement between him and the private property owner. So if we were to vacate this, I'm sure he would want to have some kind of something recorded granting him continual access.
Okay. And those, I'm assuming some of those signs must have utilities to them that he's talking about?
They have electric, they have lights.
Yep, but are they on the rural, they're not?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
But the sign company needs to be able to get in there.
Okay.
So.
Or pay if they do need our people to, okay.
Correct.
Okay, anyone else have any other questions? If not, would Jim want to speak? Present your case?
Yeah, Vicki was pretty correct on that. That's what our intentions are, is to build a house on that corner. We want to stay as far away from Beltline as we can. We do have 3 acres there, but 3 acres is not buildable. We did a lot of dirt work in there already. We had Sherman in there, spent considerable amount of money on that. And also that part that we're going to vacate or trying to vacate is not usable as a road right now, never has been. It's too much of a hill. The other road that's drawn in here, and the one that Vicki was talking about that was always used, that is our old road bed from way back when. It wasn't always just cut across. And I talked to Butch Moritz, owns that shed, and he owns most of that road bed that they're using, and he said he had no problem writing something up that Chuck Anderson and Lawrence Erdl would have access. They both have signs back there. And Chuck also has like a 3 or 4 acre parcel of land back there.
Okay, so basically, the agreement between Anderson and Erdl would be between Butch Mortz?
Correct.
Then, and not you?
Correct.
Okay.
Like I said, the way that land is now, there is no way you could come off that without the city doing something with that hill. Mm-hmm. You can't drive off the end of that.
Okay. Are there setbacks or anything that you got to meet to stay away from Beltline that you know of?
I don't know what they are.
Okay. I'm not certain what they are either. I was just thinking
But
about.
I know our driveway has to come in off 10th Street. I put a field approach off Beltline, but that's ag only. Because Sherman couldn't get his big equipment down Beltline, or 10th Street.
Okay,
There's trees on both sides of that.
sure. Okay. Is there anyone else? Just for the record, I forgot to have you state your name and your address.
Jim Miller, 1065 Getty Street, Sauk Center.
Thank you, Jim. Does anyone else have any questions for Jim? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone here in the public that would like clarification on anything that we're discussing here tonight? Is there anyone here that would like to speak? Want clarification? Don't see anyone. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the proposal? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the proposal? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in favor of the proposal? Okay, none there. Is there anyone here that would like to speak against the proposal? Would like to speak against the proposal? One final and third time. Is there anyone here that would like to speak against the proposal? Looks like, everybody's had their moment. Is there any questions of the council before I close the public hearing?
Not at this time.
Okay. Then with that, I will close the public hearing and we will reopen the regular council meeting and move on to action items. Approve resolution 2015-40 vacating public right-of-way.
This is the resolution. If the city council deems that it would be appropriate to vacate the right-of-way, it should adopt the attached resolution. I do have one recommended change to that, and that would be the description of the right-of-way, where here we have it the full 66-foot. We would like to cut out of the bottom corner so the right-of-way that goes in there stays 66 foot wide all the way up to the Mort's property. So if you can envision what I'm talking about there, instead of having that cut out of it. That's just a matter of amending the legal description.
Okay, does everybody understand what Vicky's talking about on that?
All right.
Is there any comments or discussion?
Outside,
Well, go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Just outside of what already has been discussed for use of the easement already, is that it? Is there?
Pardon me?
The use of the easement, with the billboard, the guy who leases the land, or the billboard area, is there any other use for that by the city?
The reason that when this was established, when there was the history here where that shed was, found out the shed was on the easement, so we moved the easement to the north. At that time, there was talk about vacating it, and the council and the planning commission at that time felt important to keep access to that ag land for future development. The access to the billboards was a concern, but that was kind of secondary because the owner of the property had kind of agreed to give him access. But the city was more concerned with that long-term access. If this was to go forward, I think we'd have to make sure that something in writing is recorded for not only the billboards, but also for Mr. Anderson's extra parcel he has back there. So I think that's something that would have to be a condition or something that makes sure that gets done before this were vacated. And that was a concern at the time, but it was more access for future road loops and municipal utility loops, down the road sometime, is what was talked about then.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a comment there, because I know that was there to provide us with access for utilities. And I don't think we can vacate that unless we're providing for some sort of access. Now, if we arrange for another easement to be going through the property the way the road goes now, there isn't going to be anything left of that property. I mean, the way things are, you couldn't put an easement between the buildings that are there. They got room for, one road. but we'd be looking for a regular easement. And
Yeah, and I don't think he'd be looking for a public easement. It would just be a private right to
I
cross my
think the
property.
city needs to maintain that access. I mean, we have no idea what we're going to need, but the utilities run down that road. That's where they're headed. And, you know, to suddenly decide that we're going to loop that some other way when everything's been laid out to go through there, I don't think we can do that. If we want to, you know, if we want to take out that current easement, then I think we have to replace it with something else that reaches the city boundaries. And that running down at an angle is certainly acceptable, but long-term, I don't see that working with the buildings that are there because they'll be encroaching on the roadway. There's not room to put a 66-foot easement between them.
Okay. Questions, comments? The total easement is, let's see, 66 feet right now, wide.
Yes.
And this one line that's running in here, that little jog in there that's at 40 feet, is that on his side of the property line and the rest on Mr. Moritz's?
No, the property line is the center line of the 66 feet over on the east end. So that's the property line there. And then it just jogs up 7 feet around Moritz's. Otherwise, this part that's proposed to be vacated is entirely upon Mr. Miller's property.
Okay.
Because at the time, we had shifted it north off of Moritz's property because of his building.
Okay. All right. That's clarification that I was looking at. I was thinking that his property line ran 25 feet in.
No.
An extra line in. So I was looking at an easement there with where we'd only take 40 feet off of the north side of that. The property, all the ag land and everything, that's not in the city limits?
That is the city limit at the end of that street easement, so that ag property is in the township.
Is in the township, okay. So the electrical, I don't know, Dave, you said on the water line, where the electrical for them billboards?
That should be city services.
Is that coming in from, by Midwest Machinery then?
It is probably coming down closer to the freeway. There's not electrical lines running here.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but there's water just across Beltline Road following that. The sewer stops a little further up from there, but obviously it was intended that the sewer would go through there too. Sewer especially doesn't really have another way across because it's all uphill to head north towards, you're starting to head up. You need to kind of stay down on the bottom end.
Okay. Is there any other comments or questions?
The only comment I have is that I think we have to solve where we're going to put an easement in instead before we vacate what we have. I know we end up paying a chunk for easements to try and get them, and it's a battle, and we have one right now. Let's not just vacate it and then go try and find something else.
Very good point. Is there a chance, and I don't know if that depends on where Mr. Miller wants to put his house, is there a chance that we could leave a certain easement through there? Or has it got to be a certain width? We could vacate a portion of that 66 feet wide for a utility easement.
I don't know. I mean, our standard road easement is 66 feet. If, between the roadway, utilities and the boulevards, that kind of thing, I don't know how much you can take out of it.
Because I know we've got 10-foot utility easements and 20-foot utility easements.
But this is currently a road easement.
Right. Well, I was thinking if we change it from a road easement to the
Just a utility easement?
To a utility easement, then we could cut that in half. We'd still have our easement to get through.
Yeah, I'd still be inclined to think we need to deal with the road easement at some point. And I hate to back out of one that we have and then down the road, we're looking for one.
Okay. Because I would tend to lean more toward the utility easement part of it than the road, basically, because of the jog over and everything. You know, we're having a curve.
Yeah, it's kind of an oddball thing right now,
You know,
anyway.
To have a 66-foot easement and then put a road in there and all of a sudden you got to jog to the right and then back to the left. I don't know if that makes perfect sense to make it a road easement anymore either. I mean, we don't have that we try to get our city streets to line up straight as much as possible without trying to put the extra curves in there, so.
The reason that it's 200 feet long was so that you could come off the one and curve up and around, is why this was set up this way.
Right.
And they did it at that time as a 66-foot wide because it was expected to be a city road with, you know, utilities and road and curb or whatever, if that was ever developed as industrial property back there.
Right. And the other point is, I think, Jim, you probably knew that easement was there before you bought the property, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to exploring possibilities, but I don't think we're in any position of deciding that we should put a utility easement in instead of a street easement right now.
Okay.
And I wouldn't even know what size we'd need for a utility easement. I don't know how deep the lines are, so I don't know how much they'd have to be digging to get there. I mean, typically, they're at least 20 feet wide, but it does depend on what's buried.
Right. And whether or not it would affect buildings on either side.
Yeah, and, you know,
Right.
you had to have clearance for the equipment to get in and dig that hole, so.
Sure. What's the council's wishes? Do you want to take, we can either approve the vacation, we can deny it, we can table it until we find out what we want to do with this. I'm open to suggestions. You know, if we want to go with a utility easement instead of a street easement and we need more information, I would suggest we table it and handle it at the next meeting when we've got more information on that line. Or
I think that's a good idea.
either that or,
Yeah, I'm willing to table it, although I think we still have to address some street access
Right.
somehow.
Right.
That isn't something we're dealing with right now.
yeah. So I'm looking for a motion of,
I'll make a motion to table and explore the other options.
okay, we have a motion to table.
I'll second that.
We have a second by Heidi. Any other comments or concerns? Clarification, we will research other options and bring this back at the next meeting? Next
Well,
council meeting?
If
or
it's available
Yeah.
by
If it's
then.
available by then? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against.
Okay, can I ask a question just to clarify what I'm looking for here? So you're asking me what would a typical utility-only easement, or am I looking for alternate road easements as well?
I think we're looking for both.
For both?
But
Okay.
especially, you're going to have to ask how big an easement we would need for the utilities, because if it turns out to be, 40-foot easement for the utilities alone, there's not much to be gained.
Yeah.
And then explore options for road easement.
And then,
Because I know that
pursuing options on a
when
road.
we had the meeting before, it was like, you don't just put road accesses onto Beltline Road. And so I think that's
Right.
why the
Yep.
council last time felt important to have this easement. But I can explore that option to see what our alternatives are,
Yep.
so.
Yeah, because I'd be more comfortable personally just looking at a utility easement, but if there's another option on a road, I can see that.
If we can have an assurance of a road easement that kind of follows where they're driving anyway. I mean, obviously, we're not planning on putting a 33-foot road through there right now, or
Right.
utilities. But, if we know that we can 20 years from now, that's fine. And I don't know that'll be an issue on that small area with a shed on it.
Okay,
But
you got the information
good.
that you need?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I think our person from Centerpoint is here. With that, we will jump back up to reports and presentations. Community Partnership Grant Award, Centerpoint Energy.
I applied for a citizen partnership grant to get additional portable radios to help for money with that, and I was fortunate enough to win a check for that, and it's much appreciated because we are short on portables with part-time staff, and I think to keep in situations where we need to call full staff into our police department for some type of event. We don't want to be short on that type of equipment, so Jim here is here to present a check, and it's much appreciated, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I apologize for being late. I was tied up, and I appreciate the fact that you're getting me back in now on your agenda. My name is Jim Sauk from Centerpoint Energy, out of the Wilmer office, and we have had a community partnership grant program since 2003. And it allows us to work with the communities that we serve natural gas to have you have additional funding sources for safety projects or safety equipment. And in your particular case, the police chief decided he needed some more radios. Some departments in some cities want AEDs and other different equipment that they need at that point in time. It is a grant, it is a partnership, so it's matching funds, and the limit is $2,500. You've applied for $2,500 and you've gotten it. This isn't the first time I've been here. You guys have availed yourself of the program quite a few times, which is good. We want it to be used. Since '03, we've given $1.38 million in donations to the different communities, and it's helped fund over 700 different projects. So it's been well received. This is a way we can partnership with you to work on the common goal of safety. And again, thank you for applying. We hope you apply next year and are successful again. Okay. So with that,
thank you.
There's the check.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, thanks for having me into your agenda.
Yes,
Have a good
problem.
night.
Okay, we'll move back down to 7B, accept resignation, police department employee.
At the last meeting, we'd stated that we would be expecting a formal resignation from a part-time employee of the police department. That resignation has been received. It's Kyle Hardigan. He's accepted a full-time position in Crookston, and he's going to be leaving Sauk Center. So what we're asking for tonight is accept the resignation of Kyle Hardigan from the Sauk Center Police Department.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And second.
Accept.
I'm sorry, go ahead and finish your motion. Maybe I don't want to second.
That was it.
We have a motion to accept the resignation of Kyle Hardigan from the Sauk Center Police Department from Keith, and a second from Dave. Is there any other comments?
Probably just to thank him for his service.
Yeah, I was going to say, how long has he been here?
Just under a year.
Okay.
Okay.
He's one that we have part-time in coordination with Melrose.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah, and I wish him luck in his future endeavor. It's a long ways up there.
Hopefully you won't wish he stayed too soon.
Cold up there.
Wrangling them sugar beets.
We have a motion and a second. To call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Accept resignation, Public Works employee.
8 years ago, the city, we had Tom Johnson here from the Street Department or Public Works Department, and he celebrated 30 years of service. Now at 38 years of service, he has submitted his intention to retire from the city. Last date of employment to be June 30th. He began work with the city in 1977. He's been with the city longer than any other employee. He's worked with 9 mayors, 37 council members, 7 city clerk administrators, and we gave up on counting on the streets and park employees. So Tom has been here a long time. He had a great wealth of knowledge. He was unable to make it tonight because of a family situation, but I kind of regretfully ask that you accept Tom's resignation or his retirement with his final day of employment with the city of June 30th, 2015.
Do I have a motion to accept Tom Johnson's retirement effective June 30th, 2015?
Motion to accept.
Okay, motion by Dave. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
And a second by Keith. Any other comments?
Just, I think we should call him and get him down here so he can accept it.
Yes.
That's 9 mayors and 37 council members, and that's fortitude, isn't it?
That's staying power.
Yes, it is. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approve appointment of seasonal employee.
The city traditionally rehires a seasonal employee each summer to assist with watering, mowing, etc. And we are recommending by the Public Works Supervisor that we bring Dennis Christensen back to return as a seasonal employee for the balance of the season. His rate of pay would be set by the union contract. And so what we are requesting tonight is that we appoint Dennis Christensen as a seasonal employee with the city. We hadn't brought him back prior because Tom was still here. So now this will be kind of coordinate with Tom will be leaving. We won't have that help, which we really didn't have because Dave has been out on sick leave anyway. So we've been a little short anyway. So we're requesting to get Dennis back and give us a little extra help for the rest of the season.
What kind of start date are we looking at after Tom leaves then?
He could start as soon as Monday, so we'd like to have him come back Monday if he can, and if you prefer that he waits till after Tom's last date, we can do that too.
What's council's?
Monday.
If you've got
Not that far
something for him
anyway.
Monday,
Let him work.
let him work.
Yeah.
All right. Do I have a motion to appoint Dennis Christensen as seasonal employee with the city starting Monday?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Keith, second by Diane. Any other questions? Comments? Hearing none, call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Unfinished business, hazardous buildings update.
Just wanted to kind of update you. You realize it's been almost 2 years or a year and a half now that we embarked on the Hazardous Buildings Act to remove some buildings that were vacant in the city and try to get them down and to get newer homes placed on those properties. I did list the 9 houses, the locations of the 9 houses that we've been talking about, and you can see that 2 of them were purchased and demolished by neighbors. 3 of them, we proceeded through the process and the city demolished them. One has been purchased by another. We went through the process, but it has since been sold, and that party is demolishing it. So of the 9 homes, 7 of them will, or 6 of them will be gone. One is being purchased by a neighbor for renovation. One is bank, and 2 of them are bank owned or bank mortgage, so we have some issues with that, so we're still working through the process. So 6 are gone out of 9, with the 7th one getting fixed up. We think that's a higher percentage than we actually thought we were going to be successful when we did that. When we started demolishing some of the homes, I was getting calls from people wanting to know if I'd tear down their neighbor's house, and that really wasn't what our plan was to do. We were looking at vacant homes that were in such rough shape that it would cost way too much to bring them back. So I do have some additional homes that we had considered back then, but we didn't act on them, and they continue to sit vacant and are deteriorating even further. I don't know if the city council wants us to consider looking at that and bringing back a couple more. If we want to continue to try to get hold of the vacant landowner and work with them, but they're ones that we're having to mow and take care of, and probably not ever going to get fixed up. So, you know, we've kind of winding down this group. If you want us to start another group or what you want us to do, we need to know that, I guess, partly because it'll be a budget issue for next year. And secondary, if we're going to do it, we need to identify it, inspect it, get pictures and stuff before it snows.
Personally, I think this is a ball that got started rolling based on community pride and not having these blighted properties out. Personally, I'm all for going the next round and keep this thing going.
I agree.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah, I'd rather do this 1s and 2s rather than have a clump of 7. You know.
Well, the next group, who knows, could be 7. But,
It
you know,
could,
I
but-
think it's something
But
that
if
we
we
need
wait,
to-
it'll be 12.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I think we getting a handle on it, I think we need to keep it going.
Absolutely,
So-
absolutely.
I have one question about the list here, just so that, you know, for public awareness, if there is a neighbor, somebody interested in any of these properties, what is the city doing to make sure that their renovations are happening, so it doesn't continue to stay vacant?
You mean the houses themselves, or because the property, right now, the houses are gone on most of them, it's just vacant land.
This 2nd Street South, being purchased by neighbor for renovation?
Oh, to make sure that they continue on to fix it?
Yeah.
When the process and the action that the city council declared them hazardous still has a timeline attached to it.
Okay.
So it's the same with the one on Maple Street. Even though it got purchased and being demolished by a third party, they're still bound by that original timeline.
Okay.
So,
But I see your point. You're worried that someone buys it to remodel it, and 5 years from now, we still got this house standing there and it hasn't been touched because...
yeah, we don't stop the process.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll work with somebody, but it doesn't stop.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
This one, number 8 on 2nd Street South, is that the one down by, what is it, Butch Wessel Park or
No,
whatever they
no,
call
no,
it
no.
down
It's
there?
up here by Frederick's Tire and Oil.
Oh,
It's on this
yeah,
side of the
okay.
highway.
Okay, yep.
Right.
Sorry. Never mind.
Okay. That was strictly for information. Is there any other questions or comments needed on that one?
No.
Okay. Beltline Center Street Progress Report. I guess that's you.
I can, or Matt can. They had the pre-construction meeting last night, or yesterday morning, I should say, and Matt did attend that. And there was a news release that went out today that's being published in the paper. We put it on the chamber website, on our Facebook. The news release just says that Sauk Center area motorists are advised that on Monday, June 22nd, the Stearns County Highway Department will begin reconstruction work on Beltline Road from 12th Street South to 71. The road will be closed and a detour will be posted via 71 and 17, which is Sinclair Lewis Avenue. You'll see them out here Monday. They're going to be working at the intersection by the Palmer House, moving lines over. We talked about that before. They're actually implementing that with cones and paint, and I believe they're milling out the existing stripes with the anticipation. But the road will be closed from 12th to 71, that first section. It says the motorist should use caution and expect delays. Dates and timeframes are weather dependent. The contractor for this project is Knife River Corporation. Questions or concerns may be directed to the Stearns County Highway Department. I've had several people call here wanting to know how they're going to make sure to get access, and they will be able to access the 12th Street businesses via Center Street. And we're working with the ones that only access off of a belt line. So we're trying to make sure everybody always has access. There'll be some signing that'll say businesses, that type of detour signing. The businesses on Getty Street South, I guess you would call it, Getty Street Assisted Living and Gopher Prairie Hotel and the Information Center will be able to access the one-way road on the south side of that property by the freeway, straight across from the freeway on-ramp, will become a two-way for the duration of the project, and it will be signed that people will be able to access that way so they can get in. So we're making sure everybody can get to their property. So they're starting on the 22nd with the signing. I don't know that they'll actually start digging on Monday, but that's their time frame. I don't know, Matt, do you have something to add to that? You got it. Okay.
The holding pond down on Fairlane
Yes.
Drive, are they going to start digging on that sooner? Or
I don't know what the time frame for that is for the holding ponds themselves. They're worried. Their main focus right now is to get that grading work and get the utilities, the storm and everything in that section from 12th to Main. And they're also going to start that boring going underneath the highway. So you'll see multiple things happening at the same time. And we have the same inspector that we had for our project here, Dan Salo. So he's the one that's going to be in the field and keep an eye on everything and knowing what's going on. So we have a direct contact.
All right, and just one more. And the project is expected to end when?
That's what I was going to ask.
They had initially said that this part, the county part, would be 2 months, and then they would turn around and do the Center Street part of it. But in reality, some of the crews are the same people. They might be jumping back and forth a little bit and doing some grading and digging and that. So but there'll always be access.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that happens.
So through the summer?
It'll be
maybe
through the
September
summer.
a bit?
Actually, the end date for the city portion is October 1st.
Okay.
Okay.
Or October 30th. It's in October.
All right.
Okay, and that was informational under unfinished business also. We have no new business. We will then move on to the consent agenda. We have the schedule of claims of unpaid claims of $73,619.66 and the made checks totaling $467,281.51. Do I have a motion to approve the consented calendar as presented?
So moved.
We have a motion by Heidi. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Dave. Any other questions or comments? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Informational items, street closing for Sinclair Lewis Days.
And this is just one update. We'd approved the closure of the road Sinclair Lewis Avenue from starting at 5 p.m. They've requested to back it up to 4 p.m. Has to do with the stage system that they bring in and the time frame that it needs to set up. So the county has already approved that would be okay to start it at 4. And the opening time will be 2 o'clock. That'll give them time after the dance to take it back down again, but it does take more time to set it up. So that's just information for you.
All right. On that detour, they're going down to 2nd Street and then back up.
That is the detour that was presented with this, was to go down to Oak and then up to 2nd. In reality, when we have the dance, they go both ways. People find their way either way. And because it is the detour for the project, we're asking for additional signage for that.
All right. Any other questions on that? If not, go ahead.
I did, but not on this. I was just wondering, we did that hazardous waste up at the Civic Center. Was that pretty successful? I know I worked up there for the first hour and it was fairly busy. I think that was a great idea.
I think they ran about, usually it's on a Saturday. So if a Saturday is 100%, I think this ran about 70%.
Okay.
But it's the first time it's been during the week. It's the first time at this new location. And so I think they're hopeful next year the numbers will be back up. But also now with the new facility in St. Cloud where you can drop off any time, they see Sauk Center people dropping things off there.
Yeah.
So where we used to always save it up for this event, a lot of times people are just dropping them off anytime down there.
Well, yeah, you can get rid of your fluorescent light bulbs for nothing.
Yes,
It's
you
a
can.
good
Yeah,
deal.
but you gotta come back after hours to get rid of the RV refrigerator.
You and your RVs.
Thank you.
Nothing else?
I had two
Yes.
things I'd like to comment on. One is the patch job on 71 going past under the underpass and past Casey's and all that. Does the DOT, do they check with us before they do those repairs or?
They just kind of show up.
Okay, because I was wondering, I've had a couple comments, one of which was, who fixed that road? Some drunkards? Because it looks really stupid, and I don't know if
It's a maintenance thing, so they get out there when they can, when they have the equipment in this area.
Well, I think they should come back and paint the rest of it so it matches to it. It just looks really stupid. That's one thing.
Okay.
And then the other thing I was going to say, and it's kind of a little personal thing, but we had a active threat drill at the healthcare facility in town today, and I'd just like to thank our police department. They participated in it, did a great job. I think the citizens of this town should be very happy to have the department they do. So I was going to wait till 2 weeks from now, but everyone will forget all about it by then. So thank you, Brian.
Okay, with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion by Dave, second.
I'll second that.
Second by Keith. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.